Alright everyone, and welcome back. So today I just wanted to go through what is probably going to become one of the best hand cannons in the game, but I guess at this point with the final shape only just in its infancy, that it's probably going a little bit under the radar, and that is the Better Devils hand cannon. I don't even know how many times this thing has come back at this point, but this is the best version of the Better Devils, and it basically was a meme when Destiny 2 launched in year 1 because you could only get one version of it and it was kind of pointless. And I know that the dev team kind of said, well, which Better Devils is better, and this is the one. This is quite literally the one, the Better Devils that you want to grind for, that you want to get, and fortunately it's as easy as pie to get hold of as well this season. Now for some this may be a little bit of a sore point, but you do actually have to play Crucible to get one, and you can get it from rank up packages from Lord Shaxx in the Tower, as well as random drops from end of game rewards. Now PvP is in a pretty decent spot, there's tons of new maps, the sandbox is pretty varied, Iron Banner's coming up this week so it's going to drop like candy, and I think Better Devils is one of the best all-round PvE and PvP weapons, and there's a ton of perks that you're going to want to be chasing. Now to be fair, I am going to focus a little bit more on the PvE rolls because this thing does have an absolute metric ton of rolls and an absolute ton of perfect god rolls as well. Let's start off with the origin trait. Now obviously with it being a crucible weapon, it comes with the one quiet moment origin trait, whereby you're going to get increased handling, reload and a reload duration multiplier whilst you're outside of combat. Now that's decent, but to be honest, if you're using a hand cannon, especially in PvE content, you're going to be in and amongst it more often than not, and you're going to be using this to deal with trash ads pretty much consistently, and so reloading and handling boost when you're out of combat for 5 seconds or more really just isn't the thing that you're going to want to be using, and that is where the Nadir focus origin trait comes in, because this one is absolute god tier on a ton of weapons and it is no different on the Better Devils hand cannon. Now sustained fire will increase its accuracy and range, and this just adds an absolute ton to it. Now in terms of range in PvE content, then that just makes it a little bit stickier at range, able to deal with their mobs at distance, and just allows you that little bit more of a comfort area to just deal with enemies and just basically increase the feel of this weapon. Now this stacks up to 5 times, and at 5 times you're going to get basically a bonus 10 stats to your range, and I think overall then it's probably the best one to go for out of the 2 origin traits. Now in terms of perks that you want to go for with this thing, then there's an absolute ton, and this is a strand weapon now this time, so it's gone from a kinetic weapon that we've seen in past versions of the Better Devils, and so this is a strand weapon. It's going to have maximum synergy with your favourite strand builds and also with prismatic builds as well, and because it is a strand weapon, it also comes with some immense synergy outside of your strand subclass builds, and that's mainly thanks to the absolute god roll combo of Slice and Hatchling. Now Slice for me is an absolutely S tier perk on a ton of weapons, and it's no different on this hand cannon, because basically on using your class ability, the next 5 targets that you hit will apply Sever to them for 8 seconds. Now this can be extended with the thread of continuity in your strand subclass builds, but to be fair, this thing just has an absolute ton of versatility. You're going to be able to use it to basically sever everything in sight, and now Sever basically allows you to apply a 40% damage reduction from enemies to yourself, so they're going to be dishing out 40% less damage, so whether that's red bar enemies, elites, mini bosses, champions or bosses, they're all going to be inflicted by that Sever for a period of time and help with your survivability. Now Slice, you know, you may think is a little bit useless, but think about it. If you're using it in a DPS rotation or anything like that, then what are you doing in that preparation moment just before you start dishing out damage? If you're a Titan, you're dropping your barricade, that rally barricade for faster reloads. If you're a Warlock, you're possibly going to be dropping your rifts, especially to add that bonus survivability with the nerf to the Well of Radiance. And if you're one of them pesky hunters, then you're always going to be using your dodge ability, and so Slice is always going to be active at that start of any DPS phase, and so you're going to be helping not only with your survivability but with your team survivability by enemies basically doing 40% less damage to yourself. An absolutely massive perk. And another one that is massive with it is Hatchling. Now this is going to allow you to create threadlings on final blows with this weapon. Obviously you're going to have that bonus synergy with your strand builds with the Thread of Evolution, allowing threadlings to do 33% more damage. But even outside of strand builds and in prismatic builds, then this is also going to do bits. It's basically like a glorified dragonfly / incandescent / destabilizing rounds that, you know, a threadling's going to come out, it's going to go and either dish out a ton of damage to nearby enemies or delete them, whichever comes first. It just is a really good well-rounded perk. And I don't think in terms of a PvE combo, if you're really looking at narrowing down into some subclass synergy, Slice and Hatchling really is the way to go with this thing. However, if you're not always down with your strand builds, then maybe you want something that's just going to dish out bonus damage, it's going to dish it out consistently, and you're going to want to maybe look at increasing the feel of the weapon, then you've also got a great combo of Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie. Demolitionist is going to basically give you 10% grenade ability energy back on final blows with this weapon, and on final blows with grenades you're going to get a maximum stack of Adrenaline Junkie, which is a 33% damage boost, and that's going to basically be indefinitely topped up as long as you're getting final blows with it. And just a really good old school combo and absolutely perfect in any grenade focused builds. There's a ton of them going around at the minute, especially within the prismatic subclass, so keep an eye out for a Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie combo. Alternatively, we do have Reconstruction on a hand cannon. Now, in terms of Reconstruction being available on hand cannons, from the top of my head there's not too many that have Reconstruction on it. I think Prosperity from the Deepstone Crypt raid has Reconstruction on it, and this is basically going to double the magazine size. And so if you have any sort of your mag boosting perks in that second column, Tactical Mag, Appended Mag, Extended Mag, then you can get up to 26 rounds in the magazine, and that's without using a backup mag as well. And so Reconstruction then paired with something like One for All for that 33%, for that 35% damage boost, maybe Explosive Payload for that extra 15% body shot damage that it basically allows at all times, or even Frenzy, which is basically going to have an always on, maximising your handling and reload speed, as well as that maximum 15% damage boost, which is always underrated. And Frenzy, to be honest, is one of my favourite perks in the game. Alternatively, if you don't want the boosted magazine size, then something like Rapid Hit is also going to do wonders with any of them perks, but you can also pair that with Kill Clip, which is also a bit of an underrated perk in PvE content. It's going to give you that 25% damage increase on reloading after a final blow with this weapon. Or you've got something like Perpetual Motion, which is going to give you that nice stacking boost to your stability and handling speed for a short duration, as long as you're keeping on moving. Now, in terms of other perks that you might want to look for, Pugilist and Swashbuckler is also there. Really good little combo if you like any of your melee focused builds. And PvP wise, then you've got good perks like Moving Target, Opening Shot. Really good little solid combo there if you wanted to use this thing in PvP content. In terms of perks that you want in the first column, then you want to look at something like Small Bore, Fluted Barrel, maybe Corkscrew Rifling, all that good stuff. It is actually a really good, well-rounded, good little hand cannon. But if I'm going to be looking at a god roll for it, then I'm going to look at Corkscrew Rifling, Tactical Mag to just give some decent stat boost and that boosted magazine size, as well as Slice and Hatchling, along with the Nadir Focus origin trait. And then in terms of mods that you want to put on it, then I think Backup Mag really is the way to go. As standard, it's going to give you a bonus to your ammo and your magazine, so you're not going to have to reload as often as possible, and maybe try and get a handling or a stability or even a range masterwork. And this thing is just going to do absolute bits for you in a ton of PvE content, and is just one of them nostalgic, all-round, good feeling PvE hand cannons. And I think if you're playing Iron Banner this week, or if you're just playing and dipping your toes into PvP in general, then the Better Devils really is the best Better Devils that we've had, and he's going to do a ton, an absolute ton in all of your favourite builds within the final shape and beyond. So I hope you enjoyed this God Roll breakdown of the better devils. In return, maybe drop a like and leave a sub so that you can come back next time for some more helpful Destiny 2 content, and maybe also tell a friend as well. Now that you've got your best better devils that you've ever had, chuck it into this endgame ready build next.